Hey everyone, so in today's video I wanted to jump on here and give you a quick review of the new Tower 28 Bronzino Cream Bronzer. I personally have the shade West Coast. There are two different shades within this line. I have been getting a ton of comments asking for my thoughts on the formula, how it blends, how it wears, so I figured I would just jump on here and give you all of my thoughts. Before we jump in, if you were wondering what that like reddish toned blush that I'm wearing is, no, it is not Daiquiri Dip from Fenty Beauty, but I'm actually testing out a bunch of cream blushes for a dupes video. I'm trying to dupe a bunch of the different shades from the new Fenty cream blush line. So if you were excited about that, definitely make sure you're subscribed. And if you are one of the people that really wanted to see this video, definitely make sure that you give the video a thumbs up. The Tower 28 Bronzino, and it's bronze, like bronze, not like Bronzino, like the fish. Sure, that's where they got the name, right? So the new Bronzino cream bronzer is from Tower 28, retail for $20. You get 0.16 ounces in here, so that's a little bit more on the expensive side. And they describe this as an illuminating bronzer. So these bronzers are not completely matte. They actually, you can even see in the pan, there's a slight golden sheen, at least the shade that I have, which I purchased the shade West Coast. It is the lighter out of the two bronzer shades that they offer. It certainly has a sort of golden sheen and shift to it. There's no visible glitter throughout this product though, but I will say that I was a little bit hesitant to try the product because of that. I tend to not be someone that likes shimmer in my face products. I just find that it can sometimes illuminate any texture that I have on my skin. But honestly, I wanted to give Tower 28 products another shot because I did review the cream blush formula and I did find it slightly finicky. If you want more details, I'll leave that review linked down below. So I really wanted to give the formula another try, and Tower 28 describes this as a more long wear cream bronzer that's going to give you a really illuminated look. They also use a lot of like skin loving ingredients, as they call them, like mango butter, castor oil. Tower 28 is considered a clean beauty brand if that's something that you're concerned with. And I already mentioned this in my cream blush review, but before we get into the rest of it, their packaging is on point. And I imagine that it wasn't incredibly expensive. I mean, it's just an acrylic case with their logo on the front, but I don't know, I absolutely love their packaging. I think it's really cute. Let's talk about the shade that I purchased. So I did purchase the shade West Coast. There's also a shade called Best Coast that's more on the deep side with a red undertone. This is described as a medium toned bronzer with more of a neutral undertone. I still feel like this leans a little bit more red, but if I'm being honest, I actually like that about this bronzer. This shade in particular to me reminds me a lot of the Buriti Bronzer from RMS. I do think that this is a little bit more neutral than that shade, but the shade itself does remind me of that. So this shade to me is incredibly on point. It's what I have on as a bronzer today, and I just absolutely love the color. I think it's spot on. For me personally, I feel like it looks really natural and it really kind of shapes the cheeks. I do have some trouble with cream bronzer shades with them looking too orange. And when the shade isn't perfect with me in a cream bronzer, I do start to find that it can look choppy or muddy. I think finding your perfect shade, a shade that really flatters your skin tone, is super important. I personally have more of a neutral undertone to my skin. So let's talk about the texture of this product. It is very emollient and very smooth, but it's not a cream product that's going to feel like a lot of product on the skin, which I really enjoy. And I don't like when my cream products feel like I can feel them sitting on top of my skin. I definitely don't feel this product once it's applied to the skin. I also like that there's some emollients to it, but it's not so incredibly dewy on the skin. I found that the cream blushes were more on the dewy side, and I don't think that all of that sheen that you're seeing on my cheeks is from the finish of this product. I think the finish is more of like a natural finish. The sheen is really coming from that golden sheen throughout the product. I like that this is more of a natural finish, because if this was a really dewy product with an added sheen to it, I think it would be a little bit too much. So I think that they kind of found the perfect balance with the sheen of the product and the actual finish. As for the pigmentation, it's probably somewhere between a light and a medium pigmentation, depending on how you use it. I never really have trouble shearing this product out, but I definitely notice pigment when I first apply it onto the skin. There are definitely some cream products out there where you apply it and you're like, where's the color? This is definitely not one of those products, which I do think a lot of you will enjoy. Depending on what you want with your cream bronzer, I think that this pigmentation is really going to please a lot of people. Let's talk about the way that this product applies. So the one issue that I had with the Tower 28 cream blushes was the application of the product itself. And that's what I wanted to see. How is this bronzer going to apply onto the skin? So the application of this is interesting. I actually find it, unfortunately, very similar to how the cream blushes apply onto the skin. Now that could be a good thing or a bad thing, because I do think there are a lot of you out there that really enjoy the Tower 28 cream blushes and how they apply to your skin. So if you like the way that those apply to your skin, I think you'll like the way that this one does. But let me explain how I think they apply. Something about this formula either doesn't want to necessarily stick onto my skin, or it likes to kind of pick back up on itself. I've tried a lot of different ways to apply the product. I've tried one just using a beauty blender, and I find that the beauty blender definitely kind of starts picking back up the product, and it'll start to kind of move your foundation around a little bit. So I don't recommend using a beauty blender with this product, especially one that has been dampened. I think the added moisture with a damp beauty blender is not a good way to apply this, at least on my skin. Using a finger, I did have a little bit less trouble with, but I did still find that in some spots, my fingers would start to pick up the product and then my foundation. Really, my favorite way to apply this bronzer is with a brush. This one is from IT Cosmetics. I think going with a brush like this is probably your best bet because it's not too dense, but it really works to kind of press the product into the skin. Once you press the product in and you're mindful of that, working the product onto the skin and kind of patting it in, using more of a light hand, you get a really beautiful effect. I do still notice though sometimes that it doesn't want to cling on to some areas of my skin. If I just keep building up the product very lightly, pressing it back in, I do end up getting a nice blend. Weirdly enough, I do notice it more on this cheek than with this cheek, but I think really the key to making this bronzer work is to really press it in with a brush like this. In general, the way that this looks once it's applied to the skin is really beautiful. I don't notice the golden sheen on my skin when I have this. It does just kind of look illuminated. I think the color is absolutely gorgeous. I love that it makes me feel bronzy, but because the undertone and the color of it is so unique, it gives me like a different bronzed look, like almost like that burnt tan look, like when a sunburn is slowly fading to a tan. That's what this color reminds me of. So how does the product wear? So they claim that this is a very long wear cream bronzer. I haven't found that to be the case. After 4 hours, I feel like I would feel the need to reapply it. It's not one of those products that will just completely slowly fade back into the skin. I do notice that some places look more tan than others, and it's not necessarily that this looks patchy, but I don't think it's necessarily all fading evenly all at once. So yeah, you have to be careful with the way that you apply this product, but if I'm just being honest, I love the way my skin looks when I have this bronzer on and it's blended properly. I love the color. I mean, truly one of my favorite bronzer colors I've ever used because of this shade and because of the way it makes my skin look when it is blended properly. This is still a bronzer that I will absolutely be reaching for, but to me it just takes a little bit longer with application. And let me show you right now. So I'm just gonna take a little bit onto this brush and I'm just going to slightly tap the product in. Like, try to be as gentle as possible. It almost kind of shapes the skin in a really pretty way with it still looking really bronzed. That's actually exactly the experience I had with the RMS Buriti Bronzer. I absolutely adored the shade and I actually loved the way that the product applied onto the skin. Like, I never had a single issue with applying the Buriti Bronzer onto my skin. It always wanted to blend in well. As a whole, that could have been like a holy grail product for me, but unfortunately, that product does have coconut oil in it, which coconut oil clogs my pores, it makes me break out. But where I'm going with all of this is that the shade of both of these really kind of shapes the face, gives you that sort of suntan, sunburnt look. I would say and I can't believe I'm really even saying this, if you don't have a problem with coconut oil, if you don't have an issue with it and it's never broken you out before, I would say maybe look into the Buriti Bronzer from RMS. Personally, I will never use that product again because of the coconut oil. Here's the thing. I will still recommend this because it just looks really, really good once you apply it right. But you're gonna have to work with it. So if you don't wanna spend 20 bucks on a bronzer that you're gonna have to work with, then I also completely understand that. But I really do find that the color and the way it looks on my skin once it's done right, I keep going back to it over and over again. And it's really the only cream bronzer I've been wearing since I started trying it. So I hope that you guys found today's video super helpful. And if you did, of course, I hope you will give this video a thumbs up. I would love for you to subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next one.